Good afternoon. This is Jim Coons. Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Thank you. If you look at the operations report that we provided, ridership is certainly still down from where we were before COVID. We are seeing things still fluctuate on a daily basis. Within our reduced service model, it's starting to recover a little bit, but it's it's certainly minimal increases. We have not increased the amount of service on the road yet, but we do see people starting to come back in a small degree. This motion is really more to make sure we have the people that we will need in order to fill shifts once we increase service again at the end of September, and once we have the temporary reserve ride and some other things back into place.
I have a question.
Thank you. That answers my question.
I have a question.
That was on
Mr. Chair.
GR 200828.
Commissioner Wilkins, we're having difficult hearing you. Would it be okay for Gary Foster to read the questions, because we're having difficult hearing you, Commissioner Wilkins?
Go ahead, Marcia.
Oh, yeah, thank you. What is on that report for the bus system? What is MARC, new service?
On the operations report, that was the Muskegon area regional connections. That was the service we were operating to the outlying areas.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any
Jim,
other questions?
I do have a question.
Yes,
Jim,
ma'am.
will these only be called back as you need them, or are you all planning on calling all of them back at one time?
We're proposing to call them all back to active duty, giving them an opportunity if they do not want to return to separate. But they would all be back on the roster, and then we would just call them into daily service as shifts were needed.
Okay, we don't pay them when they're not working, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a question. I'm
Yes, sir.
wondering, Jim, have you started charging again, or when is the point where you're going to start having fare fees again?
We are not yet charging fares or collecting fares on the fixed route program or the ADA portion. We're looking at that. We'll bring a motion back to you in the coming months. We are still collecting for general Go Bus rides.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Fill me in. I came in later. Are we doing a roll call on this one, or is this an all in favor?
All in favor. We did the last one all in favor.
Okay, so all in favor say yes,
Yes.
Yes.
and opposed? That motion passes. And Kathy, I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I'm going to be counting on you on the screen.
Those pressures on Kathy.
Okay. We will move on to TR 20/08-27 transit to move to authorize the creation of 2 new transit attendant hourly positions effective August 31st, 2020.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. Now we can ask questions, comments, anybody?
I'd like to know what it is they're going to do.
Mr. Jim?
Again, commissioners, the transit attendant position is designed to be a position that kind of like a utility person or a laborer assists with vehicle cleaning, facility cleaning, fueling of vehicles, etc. Really, our immediate need is that when we start putting our drivers back behind the wheel and do not currently have any assistance from the jail crews because they're not allowed to be utilized. We're going to need to continue the, I guess I'll call it accelerated or improved cleaning efforts that have been happening over the last 4 months. And so these people will primarily be called upon to clean vehicles. We'll be doing that, augmenting we have one transit attendant now and a supervisor that are working on that, along with 3 drivers. So these would take the place of those drivers that need to go back on the road.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair. Yeah, so Jim, I noticed that there's no expiration date on this. I was assuming this was additional cleaning for COVID, but it doesn't necessarily end when this COVID issue is over with. I would be much more comfortable with it if it actually had an end date to it. I'm assuming this cleaning is primarily focused on trying to clean the buses for COVID issues.
No, if you're done.
That is to some degree. However, this is also intended to,
Oh, okay. Well, they're doing transportation right now. So.
in essence, to replace the loss of the jail crew. I don't expect we'll probably have jail crew coming back to us. And we typically would get 1 or 2 people for an extended period of time every day to help with cleaning. So since we won't have that anymore, we'll need to continue to do this. It's not necessarily just during the COVID period. If we get through COVID and we find that we don't need to do that level of cleaning, we can certainly bring back a motion regarding these positions. But I think we will need to have this level of cleaning going forward.
Why do you
I have
think
a question.
you won't, after COVID is over, why do you not think you're going to get the inmate to come back?
I didn't hear that question.
We have,
Hey, Jim, let me interrupt you. Can you repeat the question, Jim?
I think the question was, why do I think we won't have the community corrections crew come back after COVID?
Correct.
I think, we have in the public transit industry, there is a new expectation. And I don't know that we were meeting that expectation with the type of labor we were receiving before. So we're hopeful that we can do better by having our own staff on the vehicles doing this.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
There were complaints, just speaking about the additional cleaning of the buses. If you remember, there were complaints from riders about the cleanliness on the buses. And I think what Jim was referring to, and I haven't talked to him about it, but maybe doing better as far as keeping the buses clean for the riders. Apparently wasn't up to the standard that riders expect, and really we should expect. Jim, am I correct on that, or what do you say?
Yeah, I think with the additional scrutiny of our current situation, we've made some adjustments that have really seemed to work. And some of those adjustments involved, having some drivers involved in the cleaning with a different set of eyes, having the cleaning done in the mornings so that people aren't, trying to get out at the end of the day, and just a number of things we've done. And those things, for example, doing the cleaning in the morning, we won't be able to get jail crew out to do that while the buses are in the garage. And even if we do it in the evening, we would have to have supervision in the evenings. There are a lot of, just good things that have happened in regards to our cleaning protocols that we'd like to see continued, and having our own staff to do that would be part of it.
Any other questions for Jim? Hearing none, all in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed?
No.
So that motion passes with 1 opposed. Moving on to TR 20/08-28 Transit, move to authorize MAS to begin a process to terminate for convenience its custodial service contract with Professional Building Services LLC, and to resolicit for custodial services from MAT's facilities.
So moved.
We have a motion
Support.
and support. Questions, comments?
I have a question on that.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds like you might be planning on terminating them before you have a new custodial service. What would you do in between?
In speaking with PBS, they have agreed to stay on with us through the process of the RFP. So we just have to give them notice of what our expected dates are. We expect to stay with them until we have something new in place.
Jim, why is it that we're getting rid of them?
Well, we're not really getting rid of them. What has happened is they approached me at the beginning of July and indicated that they wanted an increase in the rate if we could do it, if we could negotiate it. That was partially be due to COVID, or at least that was the statement. In talking to them after I received that, they indicated that really they had underestimated the amount of time that would be needed to clean, particularly in a public transit facility. And they were having difficulty getting the labor that they needed to be able to do that. And they were asking me if they could change the terms. And I indicated we can't do that in a competitive solicitation, but that if they needed to get out of the contract, I would pursue a cancellation and rebid.
Thank you. Are they interested in rebidding too?
They are, and they've stated that in writing, that they would be willing to stay on and that they would be interested in rebidding.
Great, thank you very much.
When is this contract up?
This was just executed in, I think, July of 19. It was a 5-year agreement. They actually are serving a number of different county departments, but each department was solicited as a separate function. They are not experiencing the same budgetary problems on their other facilities. It just seems to be something they did in the Met contract where they are struggling to meet what they had as a budget for the project.
Jim, did they,
When is this current contract expire?
If I'm not mistaken, it goes until probably July of 2024. I think it was 5 years. But again, if we have a contractor
to terminate.
I'm sorry.
So are they asking to terminate the contract?
They were asking to double the pricing in the contract or to get out of the contract.
Well, then I think this is the issue here, because you sign a contract, but now you want to renegotiate the contract. And I don't think that's because we got other bidders that bid on that also. So if they're going to terminate the contract, then they shouldn't be bidding on a new contract.
It's a very valid point, Charles.
right.
Jim, do you have any response?
Well, what we are doing is making sure that the contractor we have for janitorial janitorial services is able to do a good job for us. And I think if we stay with the horse we have, then there will always be shortcutting, trying to get the work done, and it'll just be harming the vendor. By allowing them to go out of the contract and allowing us to rebid it, we give the entire community another opportunity to bid it. In terms of suspending contractors or debarring contractors from participating, I'm not aware that the county purchasing policy or the transit purchasing policy debars vendors for anything other than egregious problems. So we don't have a policy that would prevent them from bidding it. That could be a separate part of a discussion, but presently we're doing this to make sure we get good janitorial services and that we're fair to the vendors that we use. And if there's a penalty, so to speak, then that needs to be a policy decision.
I have to agree with Jim on this, because I feel like with the COVID situation, we are over and above what they bid in the first place. So I'm sure it is costing a lot more and you're putting a lot more time into it. So I certainly understand the situation. I believe this is fair.
Jim, Mr. Chair, can I have a question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We're missing Commissioner Wilkins.
We're going to go back to her, Charles. I saw that.
My question is, do I remember how close these bids were, the low bidder and the second bidder? What was, how, I mean, I know it was last year, but you remember what?
If I recall, and I do not remember it specifically, but if I recall, it was a request for proposal, so price was not the only factor. But in terms of pricing, I believe they were significantly under the other vendors, but they were similar to what we had been paying a previous vendor.
Jim, this is Matt, if I may. I have those bids in front of me if you'd like me to read them to you.
Go ahead, Matt.
There was a bid of 165,000, a bid of 145,000, a bid of 119,000, and then PBS was 57,000.
Wow.
But that was for what? Was that for the Matt's facilities, Matt?
That was for Matt and Herman Ivory.
Okay, for a 5-year period.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're gonna ask Madam Chair. She had a question. She's been trying to jump in.
Yes, well, that's all right. It's been answered. Thank you.
Okay, if your Wi-Fi is working, Madam Chair, you can take the meeting back over if you want.
No, you go right ahead. You're doing a fine job.
Okay, thank you. Did we have any more questions on that one?
Well, I just wanted to make another comment on this.
Yes, sir.
I just think that if, everyone is experiencing an issue with COVID. That's not a question. But for a vendor to win a contract as the lowest bidder and then want to renegotiate that by terminating the contract, I don't think that's fair to the other vendors also that have put their time and effort into bidding it. And if they want to terminate, I think it's best to offer it to the next best bidder and see if they're willing to take that. Otherwise, I don't think that we should just rebid it and give them an opportunity to up their bid.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I might agree with that, but in normal times with this COVID virus, everything has changed. The standard of cleaning is higher, and I don't know if people have noticed, but there's for hire signs everywhere. I mean, I'm talking even like high paying good jobs they can't find people for. So I don't know what it's like trying to find people to clean these buildings.
So
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I mean, I get it. You can't expect them to, go out of business because they're cleaning that building.
I have a question for
go ahead, Marcia.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, in the second paragraph, it says, since the request is for nearly 100% increase to the rates evaluated and awarded in the MATS RFP process. So they're asking for double what they asked for before, or what we're paying. So, if they need to go somewhere else, then that we need to be okay with that.
So,
Gary, I do have a comment too, if I might.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I would incline to agree with Marcia and Charles in that too. Once Jim gave us the information, their bid was 50,000. The next lowest bid was over 100,000. It sounds to me like they misbid it in the first place. So if we're, I mean, that happens, but rather than let them go broke, I do think it would probably be best to just open the bids again, take completely new bids.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how much more time do they have on this contract, Jim?
This contract, if it were to serve out, would be 4 more years.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead, Mr. Laring.
So this is going to sound a bit like a criticism, but in this process, there is, when you say the highest qualified bidder and they come in at half of the second bidder, this should have thrown some huge red flags out in this that have been rejected. I mean, all the other bids are reasonably close, but this was half the lowest bidder. That did raise some huge red flags when we started it. I actually agree with this should have never been accepted would be my first take. Secondly, if they went out of it, I think I agree with Charles that we should offer it to the number 2 bidder. If that's even legal, I think legal would probably have to take a look at that in the process. But rebidding this whole project, like Bob said, the cost could go up because now there are some labor issues out there. We're having with my company a hard time getting people to come to work, and we pay pretty well. So I don't know that we could even get the number 2 bidder to even accept that. So again, I guess I am saying this is a bit of a criticism. This bid should have been really scrutinized to start with.
And
Okay.
I would say I agree with Commissioner Laren. I think that we should ask the following bidder, and if they're not willing to, maybe ask the next. But until we went through that process, I wouldn't rebid the process because this really was an erroneous bid that kind of screwed over the other bidders because someone underbidded it. Now they want to renegotiate it. I don't think that's fair. And if we set this kind of precedence, we're setting this for other folks down the road also.
So with that
I
being
agree with you,
said,
Charles.
could we, Mark, can we ask you a question?
Yes.
So this cleaner has agreed to stay and do the service until we decide what we're doing. Would it be appropriate to have you find out where we set on this as far as setting procedures?
Yes, we're checking into it right now. Beth's researching it as we speak, and she just texted me. So that lets me find out what we can and can't do. And I want to circle back around with Bob Lukens on the federal requirements, if we can accept next low bid, because we've done that in the past, but with the federal dollars involved, I want to double check and make sure we can still do that.
So
Yeah.
would it be wise for us to table this for 30 days since we're not pressed for time?
Sounds like a plan.
I could, or I could bring it under my report if you're okay with that as well.
Whatever the
Once I
body
get the answer.
decides.
I would be fine with that too.
I would
Yeah.
be fine with that if everybody is. So what do we want to,
That's
Yeah.
fine.
okay.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes,
Well,
sir.
why don't we just table this until the
what's fine?
administrator brings it back?
Correct. That's what we'll do. If somebody wants to make that motion.
I'll make a
that
motion. Go ahead, and I will support it.
So we have a motion and a support to table this until the administrator brings back this transit number to us for further consideration.
Okay.
Any comments, questions on that?
No, Commissioner Foster.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to remind everybody that if we're rebidding the whole thing, the next higher bidder was like double or more, and that's going to impact the whole. The MAT system is already operating at a significant deficit. So I just want to remind you, if the bid is $50,000 or $100,000 higher, it's just going to make it worse there. So that's all.
Thank you.
But if we rebid this, it's going to go up. I guarantee you that.
Well, are we asking Mark to bring this back at the next possible?
It will bring back
opportunity?
as far as the administrator at his convenience.
Great, thank you.
The motion to table should be voted on now.
That's what we're doing right now. So I need all in favor of tabling, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion is tabled. Next, we're going to move on to TR 20/08-29, Community Development. Move to approve waiving the site plan reviews by the Architectural Review Committee for the Smart Vision Light Project at the Airport Business Park.
So
I
moved.
move,
Second.
We have motion and support. Any questions?
yes, I have a question. Why in the world will we not do that?
Commissioner, this is Bob Lukens, Community Development Director. Commissioner, this is an expansion at Smart Vision Lights. There is, back when the Airport Business Park started many years ago, there was an architectural review committee when the initial buildings were first being constructed in the park and the layout of the park and that sort of thing. That committee over the years has disappeared, and the city of Norton Shores has taken over review of those construction plans. So city of Norton Shores did review this expansion plan for Smart Vision Lights. And we have had a couple of similar waivers of this process in March 2018 and November 2018 for 2 other projects in the business park. So the county no longer has the architectural review committee, and it's taken care of by the city of Norton Shores.
I am perfectly fine with the city of Norton Shores building inspectors, so I will move forward with this.
Okay, any other questions on that?
No, Gary,
Yes, sir.
I looked at the plan. This is kind of amazing. They're wanting to add 30,000 square feet to a building they just opened.
I'll tell her you called. Thank you.
It's a great thing.
We like great things. Any other comments?
Actually, Gary, one more thing. I just noticed the expansion is bigger than the original building.
So it is a great thing.
Yeah.
Any other comments from anybody? In that case, all in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. TR 20-08/-30 Airport. Move to authorize issuing a request for proposal for the replacement of 2 field tractors and 2 mowing deck attachments.
So move.
Moved.
We have
Second.
a motion and support. Questions, comments?
Do we have the money in the airport for this?
Mr. Lukens.
Yes, Commissioner, there is CARES Act funding that is available for this procurement. And again, it's for 2 tractors that, it's 2 tractors that we really need at the airport. We're currently running only 1 tractor now. The other one is kaput. So we've been looking for parts for it, and it's virtually impossible to find parts for that tractor. So we have 1 now, and these new tractors would substantially increase our productivity out at the airport.
Thank you.
With the new mowers and the new tractors.
Thank you, Bob.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We will go on to old business. Do we have any old business for this committee? Hearing none. New business. Do we have any new business? Hearing none. We will go on to public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Counting on you, Mark, to see.
I do not see anybody.
You're good to go. I don't see anybody.
Okay, we have no public wanting to comment, so we'll go on to final board comments. Anybody have any final board comments? Not hearing any, we'll ask for motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support.
We have a motion and support. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, we're switching over to Public Works.
I'm gonna go
Stop
get my
recording.
paperwork. Be back
Stop
in 1 minute.
recording. Okay. We'll stop